Gas up the Jeep, it's good to be free. Load up the pans and fishing poles. The highway is long, the wheels turning round. Pack up the cook stove and the bowls. Arlo and I, we hit the open road. Arlo and I are on the road.
Hey everybody, I'm back in the kitchen again today. And you know, I've been sitting around the cabin here for the last couple days, and I've been really in the mood for some baked beans. And not just any baked beans, some like real down-home, like Maine style baked beans. You know, the kind of beans that you see on TV or in the movies where the lumberjacks are burying the beans in a hole in the ground and making beans that way. I'm going to do sort of a similar style to that. Of course, I'm going to do it in my oven. I'm not going to be digging a hole today, but I'm going to do a similar style to what, you know, traditional sort of bean hole bean kind of a recipe. And now the nice thing about this style of baked beans is that there really are very few ingredients, mainly some good beans. And today, I'm using some, these are yellow-eyed beans. Now, those are very traditional East Coast Maine bean. It looks like kind of looks like a black-eyed pea, except with not black-eyed, it has a yellow eye on it. Now, common beans for this recipe are Jacob cattle beans, which I don't have, but I do happen to have some of these yellow-eye beans, so this is what I'm going to use today. Now, I took a cup of dry beans last night, and I soaked them in water, and it's kind of, they rehydrated and are about 2 cups right now, and this is what I'm going to cook for myself. You know, I'm just going to be cooking this for myself, so I don't need a huge giant pot of beans. Now, the other ingredients, which are traditional, some people use them, some people don't, would be a little bit of onion. This is half of a yellow onion. I have some salt pork. Salt pork is traditional, but you could use any sort of pork product, bacon or something like that if you like the smokiness of it. Of course, molasses, very important. Some maple syrup. Mustard powder. Of course, some salt and pepper. And then what I'm going to be adding is going to be what I'm going to be using kind of to make it my own, which would be the controversial ingredient that I'm going to be using today, which I'm going to put some of these dried porcini mushrooms, dried king bolete mushrooms, which I collected out in the forest last year. And they smell good. And that's going to add that super deep umami mushroom flavor that you can only get from like dried porcini mushrooms. These happen to be white king bolete mushrooms, Barrow's boletes. But they do have a very similar flavor to a regular porcini. Now, the one thing about this recipe, though it does have very, very few ingredients, it is very time-consuming. So what we're going to do is we're going to get our beans started in our pot. We're going to put the beans in the pot, and we're going to get those boiling. And the fun thing, the traditional way to test if the beans are ready is to take the bean after it's been boiling in about 20 minutes, something like that, and then blow on the bean like that. And if the skin on the bean splits, you know that the bean is ready for the next step and it's ready to go put in the oven. Now, that's the fastest part. Once you put it in the oven or in your bean hole in the ground, you're going to go at least 5 hours, probably 5 to 6 hours, at about 250 degrees. So it's getting a little bit late in the morning here, so I want to hurry up and get these boiling and cooking so that I can get them in the oven so that I can have them ready for dinner time tonight. Okay, of course, the first step, we need to cook our beans. So I'm going to put these beans in the pot with the remaining water that they were soaking in. And then I'm going to add enough water just to cover them up, and then we're going to get this on the stove. So these just need to come up to a boil. They're going to simmer for, I don't know, approximately 20 minutes, and then we're going to start checking them. We're going to start doing what I said before. We're going to blow on the bean, and when the skins start to split, we'll know they're ready to go on to the next step. Our beans have come up to a boil, and at this point, I like to skim off a lot of this foam. Okay. And then actually I'm going to turn this down just a little bit and then let these simmer until they're tender. All right, while our beans are simmering away on the stove, I wanted to talk a little bit about our pot. Now, because I'm making such a small batch today, I'm just going to be putting them in the oven in a small kitchen saucepan. But if I were doing a larger batch, I would definitely use something like this, like a nice big cast iron Dutch oven like this, especially if I were going to be burying it in the ground. I would use a nice, beautiful cast iron pot like this. What I really would like to do is buy myself one of those old-fashioned stoneware bean pots, you know, the old brown ones with either one handle or two handles on the side. I'd love to get one of those, and that would be perfect for making our beans, my beans, in the oven. Like I said, today I would love to use this cast iron, but I'm making such a small batch. This pot is way too big for the batch that I'm making today. So anyway, let's go back and check our beans. Okay, now our beans have been simmering for a lot longer than I was expecting. They've been going for about 30 minutes right now, and I think they're just about ready. Now my beans, I've had them for a while in my pantry, so they are a little bit drier. So the longer you have your beans, the older they are, the longer they take to cook. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take one of our beans, and then we're going to blow on it sharply. And I don't know if you can see how the skin has started to peel back, just like that. Okay, so our next step is I'm going to take our beans. I have a smaller pot, which I'm going to transfer all of our beans into this smaller pot, along with the cooking liquid. Okay, and then I'm going to push this to the back of the stove, and I'm going to start to cook the rest of my ingredients to flavor our beans. All right, so with my saute pan, I'm going to add a little bit, just a touch of olive oil, and then to that I'm going to add our salt pork. I just want to cook this for a little bit. I want to start rendering out just a little bit of this fat. I'm going to kind of crisp it up just a little bit, although it's going to be stewing for 5 hours, so it's not really going to make that much of a difference. But I just want to get a little bit of that the flavor started. Okay, that's it, just for a couple of minutes there. And we're not really trying to put a lot of color on it, just kind of just a little bit. And then to this we're going to add our onion. Cook this down just a little bit. All right, I think those look really nice. You just sweat them just a little bit. I'm starting to get just ever so slight amount of color. And then I'm going to bring my beans back up, and then I'm going to add all of our onions and also our salt pork to our pot. All right, wow, that looks so good already. Okay, now to this, I'm going to add our molasses. So I'm going to put about 1/4 of a cup of molasses. Our maple syrup. Stir that all around in there. Okay. One of the other most important ingredients is the dry mustard. This is very traditional. I'm going to put a teaspoon of dry mustard. Then some salt and pepper. course, it wouldn't be one of my recipes if I didn't put a little heat to it. So I'm going to have, I've got a couple of dried shelled beans. I'm going to crush those in there as well. And then, like I said, the most controversial ingredient are these dried mushrooms, these dried porcini mushrooms, which I'm going to crumble into here as well. Just like that. And that, like I said, is going to add this really deep mushroom umami flavor to this. Not your typical whole beans, that's for sure. All right, looks like we have just about the right amount of water in there. I'm actually going to add just a touch more. Now I'm just going to bring this up to a simmer again. I'm going to put a lid on it, and then we're going to pop this into a 250-degree oven for about 5 hours. But we're going to check it occasionally to make sure that we may or may not need to add any more liquid to it. We don't want our end result to be super liquidy, but we don't want them to burn either. All right, the beans are now coming back up to a slight simmer. I'm going to turn off the heat, and then the last thing I'm going to add some of this Myers dark rum to this. Just going to add a splash of dark rum, and that's going to add that nice rum molassesy kind of flavor as well. Stir this around, put a lid on it, and then we're going to pop this in the oven. I am back. So pretty exciting. Our beans have been in the oven for 5 hours, actually a little bit over 5 hours now. The one thing I did was, after about 4 hours, I took the lid off of our pot so that the rest of the liquid in the bean pot could kind of evaporate and thicken up a little bit. So now it's time to take our beans out of the oven. The whole house smells so good. It smells of molasses and that sweet smell. So I can't wait to get in and try those. There they are. That smell. Oh, it's that smell of molasses, and I can smell that aroma of those porcini mushrooms that we put in there. The rum, the salt pork. You can smell all those smells. It smells so good. This is my favorite way to make baked beans. So we'll portion up some of this. It actually thickened up our sauce just a little bit, and then we also created sort of a little bit of a crust on the top of it for being in the oven without the lid on it. So I'm going to make myself a nice bowl of these beans. All right, there we go. Our Maine style beans with porcini mushrooms. Wow. And lots of molasses and onions and salt pork. Oh man. All right, let's try these. They're hot, but the beans are cooked just right, just the way I like them. They're tender, but they still have just a little bit of a bite to them. It's the way I like it. Has an overall sweetness because of the maple syrup, because of that molasses. But it's kind of it is sweet, but it is balanced out with the flavor of the onion, the mushroom. I really like that porcini in there because with every bite you get, like I said, that sweetness. The meatiness of the beans, the sweetness, from the sauce, but you also get those little tidbits of mushroom, which give that sort of, like I've been saying, that umami, that real deep kind of flavor. Now, traditionally, beans, baked beans on the East Coast are served with brown bread, which is a bread which they bake inside like a metal can. You can buy it in some grocery stores. They sell that. It's kind of like a sweet, dense brown bread. Sometimes it has raisins, sometimes it doesn't. But it's a nice accompaniment to this, and that's kind of a typical thing that you would have with a kind of an East Coast or Maine kind of bean supper. Now, me being from the Midwest, what I would do is I would add some nice chopped up green onions on top, because I really like that the flavor of green onions with my beans. Which I don't have any right now. I do have some white onion. I might put a little bit of that on there. All right, let's put a little white onion on here. Just going to dice up a little bit. Okay, just like that. I topped a little bit of white onion on there. I don't know if that's traditional for like I said, in Maine or East Coast type beans, but that's the way I grew up. I always put them on my baked beans. And I like that freshness of fresh onion, the bite of the fresh onion, and that little bit of fresh crunch. I'll go with it, with the beans that have been cooking for 5.5 hours. It's actually been cooking for 6 hours if you consider the time that we boiled them before we put them in the oven. Yeah, that's the way I like it. I really like that the onion on top. Really delicious, super easy, very few ingredients. Molasses, if you want maple syrup, I put a little bit of both. The salt pork, and you can use bacon, that onion, that mustard powder, which is super important. That's very traditional. I wouldn't skip that. A little salt, cracked black pepper, so good. I also put a little rum in this one, and it adds more of that sort of molassesy kind of a deeper flavor without the sweetness. So that's a nice thing to add as well. Although overall, this dish has an overall sweetness, that's for sure. Well, if you like your beans a little less sweet, you could put, like half as much of the molasses or the maple syrup in there. Very delicious. The only thing that would make it better is if I would have cooked them in the ground, and then I would have gone out all day and come back and dug them up. So good. Anyway, if you like this video, please like, please subscribe. It helps us a lot. And we will see you.
Load up the pans and fishing poles. Arlo and I, we hit the open road. Arlo and I on the road.